Well, good day and welcome to SOP, Save Our Planet. My name is Gary Willing and I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. Now, I am going to address a comment, try to answer a question. They're kind of related, so they almost sound like addressing one thing. But if there's something you want to tell me or if there's a question you want to ask me, feel free to put that in the comment section of this video. I'll try to answer it in another video, or you can email me, searchforsigns@mail.com. But in the meantime, if you want to get some of those questions answered for yourself, you can do that actually by just going to the Share International site. There's a link in the description portion of this video. If you want to see if this information is true for you about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, do the same thing. Go to the Share International site. It might help you out. So hopefully you'll do that. But in the meantime, let's get on into it. All right, so here is the comment I wanted to talk about first. Compassion isn't so difficult. In my opinion, it's what everyone feels inside to do, but somehow stops themselves from playing it forward. Well, of course, that stopping themselves from playing it forward is our conditioning, is our belief that we are separate, the need to get ahead, the need to compete, and so forth. What's making it worse is commercialization, actually, because commercialization was put this way by one of these masters. I think it's wonderful the way that he described it. He said commercialization is like a monster who has its hand on the throat of humanity, squeezing out any creative thought or generous notion. It's also sucking the vitality out of humanity at the same time. Because you got to get ahead, you got to compete, you got to, do all those things. But yet, what you're saying is true. Within the hearts of us is that truth. Maitreya said it like that. Within the hearts of all of humanity, no matter who that person is, where they are, no matter how awful they are as a person today, within their heart too is the truth that they are longing for oneness, longing for unity, looking to love and to be loved, looking to cooperate, actually, wanting peace. It's the same truth that's in the heart of Maitreya himself, the Lord of Love. So, where does that leave us? Because we certainly don't see that anywhere on the horizon today, right? We probably don't even see it within our own lives. If you really are honest with yourself, you probably don't see it that much in your own life, right? Because we've been taught to compete too. You have to unlearn what you learn, right? And I know for myself, and I always laugh when I say this, but there is a germ of truth to what I'm saying. I have to drive on Atlanta roads every day, and there's not a lot of unity, oneness, and cooperation coming out of me when I'm driving in traffic. It's a life lesson for me, right? And we all have those things in our life that we have to overcome. We have to be able to manifest that oneness and that love in the face of all that. That's why we have those lessons come back over and over and over again. It might be a person. In my case, it might be driving in Atlanta traffic, right? For you, it might be something totally different. You might be fine in Atlanta traffic and be in a Zen state of denial about the fact that you're moving only a mile or two per hour, right? But it might be your coworker. It might be something, and I have several of these things in my life that I have to keep reminding myself. I have to keep looking at myself when I'm not manifesting that oneness, right? Well, it's true. And then when you look at the world, you really don't see it, because all you see is the bad stuff, right? Well, there's people out there that don't get a lot of notoriety who are working day in and day out tirelessly to bring about oneness, bring about justice, bring about peace, to end hunger in the world. And if we just lifted up the hood, we could see it, but it's not being presented to us by anybody in the media for sure, because, who cares about that? They want to know about the other stuff, right? The bad stuff, the drama, the tea, all that stuff. But here's what I wanted to say, and I've been talking about this for a few months now, and I'm going to bring it up again for those who haven't heard this. If you don't think that that's true, I just want you to look at something from a different perspective. Listen to what people on the political right are starting to talk about. Now, it's not everybody on the political right, but it's a significant number of them. And it's even coming from people in my own life who are on what I would consider to be the political right, are starting to talk about this. They're starting to talk about the need to end war. It's the same thing that Maitreya says. Now, if I talk to any one of these people about Maitreya, about who I believe he is, about some of my own personal experiences with Maitreya, I'm going to guarantee you they're not going to believe a single thing that I say. In fact, some of them might get kind of triggered by what I'm saying about this. But they are saying the exact same thing that Maitreya is saying, that we need to end war. So what does it really matter that they believe what I believe? No, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't even matter if they even know who Maitreya is or whatever. They want the same thing that Maitreya wants. Now, these same people, some of these same people, have been around long enough to where I've known them for decades. And decades ago, they did not care a bit about ending war. They wanted more war because that's what they were told by their media, that we needed to go to war in Iraq, we needed to go to war in Afghanistan, that's going to bring peace and security, we need to kill all the Muslims because they are evil and blah, 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 blah. They are not saying, some of those people are not saying that now. Some of those people are even honest enough to see that they once saw that and now they don't see it anymore. My brother even, for the first time in his entire life, admitted that I was right about something and that he was wrong about. He never, ever admitted anything like that. Even when we were young, he would never admit that. But he said, he goes, yeah, Gary, you were right. We shouldn't have gone to war in Iraq, right? Because he and I used to get into some heated debates about that back in, at the time that they were talking about going into Iraq, right? I digress. But you see what I'm saying? It's starting to open up in them. It's taken some time, but it's starting to open up in them. They think now the answer is that, and this is coming from conversations with people like my brother, they think now the best thing to do is just to isolate the United States from the rest of the world. That is the answer. It's not an answer. And the only reason why people like my brother are saying this is because the boneheads that they listen to in their media are telling them that. So he's like, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, we should just, build a wall, whether it's an actual physical wall at our borders, or we should stop doing trading with these people, or we should stop traveling to these countries, we should stop listening to them, we definitely should not give them any more money, and blah, 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 blah. That in and of itself is going to end all war forever. Well, it's not. The only thing that's going to end war forever is justice. That's it. Now, you can think whatever you want to think, but that is the truth. Justice is the cure for war. It's the solution. It's the solution that nobody wants to talk about. And then you want to ask yourself, how do we bring about justice? Well, Maitreya says the only way to do that is for nations to share resources. That's it. We have the resources, we have the trains, we have the boats, we have the planes, we have the ability to move food from any part of the world to any other part of the world in a matter of a few hours. And yet we don't. We don't have the political will to do it. So the solution is, and I'm going to put it the way Maitreya always puts it, without sharing, there can be no justice. Without justice, there can be no peace. And without peace, there can be no future. So these people who had thought about war forever, thought that was the best thing to do for the United States to do, are starting to come to the realization and awaken to the truth that we don't want any more war. Now they're going to have to come to the truth that the only way to get what they want is justice. And then the most painful thing that they're going to have to realize, because it's going to come to them at some point, is the only way to bring about the justice that they want is for the United States, countries like the United States and Europe and China and Russia are going to have to give up some of their resources and share it with other countries. They're going to have to do it. There is no other way. And when they realize that, it'll go, okay, let's just try it. See, for me, I've always been one of these, let's just try it, man. If it doesn't work, then we can go back to the way we were doing it. But I guarantee you it will work because it has worked before. And if you go to the Marshall Plan, which happened in the 40s, right after World War II, we did this. We tried the principle of sharing. It brought about goodwill amongst the nations that participated in it. We should do it again. It's the only thing that's ever brought about goodwill amongst nations. So try it. Let's share, right? But it's hard for people to come to that conclusion, and it's harder for others. It's harder for some than others, and so forth, I guess, right? But that truth is starting to wake up within humanity. Now, I don't think humanity on its own accord is going to bring about sharing. I think Maitreya is going to have to galvanize humanity to do something about it. He's going to have to show us just how important it is for us to share. We're going to have to see that our future depends on it, if we do it, or we won't do it, right? So the next question kind of goes along the lines of this a little bit. So I wanted to kind of talk about this. How can we change all this? The corruption, the global elites control everything. Even if half of what is true in the Epstein files, we are all screwed. We're not screwed. We're just going through a transitory period that was predicted thousands of years ago and put into all the religious texts, actually. Not just the Bible. It was also in the Buddhist texts. It was also put in the Quran. And it's also in the Bhagavad Gita. They all talk about a return of a teacher. They all talk about it in a different way. They all use a different name and expect him to have a different meaning for humanity, but they're all talking about a return of a teacher. And within those texts, they all talk about, right before the teacher comes out, this total moral decay of society. Congratulations, we're in it. Because the teacher is actually already here, in a very real sense. Now, he's not here teaching humanity directly in the sense that we all know who he is yet, but the moral decay is here, for sure, and it's painful. Now, here's what I wanted to share with everybody, because I have a tendency to scroll when I go on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, go for those short videos, and that's why I started putting up these short videos, because I found my attention span is kind of low too, but the majority of people's attention span is very low. They don't want to listen to a 30-minute video. So a 30-second video, 15, 20-second video, that's perfect, right? And I do the same thing. I scroll. And especially on Instagram, it's really bad. There's people talking about all the problems in the world, all the corruption. They all have their own assessment of it. I guarantee you not one of those people have an answer to what's going on. Not one. The reason why I say I guarantee, because I have not heard one single person talk about the answer. It's all about the problem, because that's what people are obsessed with, is the problem. I find myself obsessing about it too, to be honest with you. I have to pull myself back and go, whoa, it's not that bad, right? But here's what I wanted to talk about in relation to that. Now, how you can make the change. How you can change, when you said, what can we do to change this? If you're talking about yourself individually, I would say the first thing to do is what Gandhi said. Be the change you want to see in the world. It's got to start with you. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to single-handedly change the institutions and end the corruption and so forth. That's going to take all of humanity. Not one person can just do it, but we can start. Right? I think Maitreya is going to be a big help for that, because that truth within the hearts of all of us that I just spoke about, he is going to awaken that within people that you would never expect it to happen, because he's the Lord of love. He's the Christ. Within him is that love, naturally. So when he speaks to humanity, he's speaking heart to heart to humanity and waking within the hearts of that listener that truth. And that's when people are going to hear him and go, yes, that's exactly it. That is it. That's what I wanted to, because it's within their hearts too. He's not going to be telling them anything that's not true for them. It's just he's going to remind them in a way that none of us really can remind another person that truth within our hearts. Now, you can awaken that truth within the heart of somebody else, but you got to have it you got to have it starting to manifest within your heart too. So that's why I would say, learn. Read about this information. Read about the truth about the Marshall Plan. Start to put into practice what Maitreya says: honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment. How can you help the world if you're totally attached? How can you help someone else if you're not truly being honest with them? How can you help open the heart of somebody else if you're not truly sincere with them? And practicing sincerity of spirit. So study it, learn it. If you want to know more about Maitreya, go to the Share International site, like I always say in every video, right? So there's some things that you can do in that way. But the thing that we can do as a humanity is we got to understand that this corruption coming to the surface is got to happen. We got to see it, but it doesn't mean that the world is going to end. And if you just can help remind somebody of that, you might give them a little bit of hope, right? But remember this, and this is probably the most important thing in this video. I'm sorry I'm putting it at the very end of it, but one of these masters, the master who wrote all his things through Benjamin Creme, said once that it's very easy, actually, for the masters to counteract evil. There is evil in the world. We're starting to see it in our institutions. We're starting to see it in some of the political leaders and the economic leaders of the world and so forth. We're seeing it in real time, the evil that they manifest, right? It's very easy for them to counteract that. What's unbelievably impossible for any master, including Maitreya, to overcome is the inertia and complacency of humanity. There is no way that this corruption would have existed for as long as it existed if humanity wasn't complacent. The injustice that's there that causes all these problems in the world would not exist if humanity was not complacent. So it starts with each and every one of us. So if you think, and just be honest with yourself, if you're saying, yeah, I am kind of complacent, yeah, I don't do much, well, change that. That's how you can change the world. That's why be the change you want to see in the world. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. You do something. And it might just be talking about it with people, right? That's why I say it would be better to educate yourself a little bit about the priorities of Maitreya, the need for peace, the need to share. Read about the Marshall Plan and explain it with people in your life. If you're finding that people are down, this is something that Maitreya says, very simple, but it could change somebody's life. All will be well. All manner of things will be well. That's actually coming from Maitreya, but it's so true. And when people are down, and like I said, all these people who talk about the problems in the media, they're not bringing any solutions to the table. None of them. It's just keeping people stuck because people don't think that they can do anything. Well, the problems are too real, man. They're too big. I can't do anything. You can do something. But you got to also hopefully remind yourself, all will be well. All manner of things will be well. Now, what do I do? Right? Well, giving some of you guys some of the solution. But the real solution to the problems in the world is for the principle of sharing to take place. That is the only solution that's going to solve the problem. So hopefully this helps. I love you guys. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to putting up videos in the very near future. Have a good rest of your day. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.